Now, of the candidates, there are 4 candidates in the race. To my way of thinking, only 2 of them have actually had the guts to actually take a stand on the human rights ordinance. You're one of those 2 candidates, and Alan's the other, and you guys are on opposite sides of that. Why is that such a difficult, why is human rights such a difficult issue for so many politicians to take a stand on?
Well, I think one of the things is that subject is something that most people don't really want to talk about. My belief on that is that it's well past the time when we should be discriminating against people for what they are, for things that they can't do anything about. We used to do that for all sorts of reasons, for all sorts of people of various ethnicities, which we don't do that anymore. We have laws, if nothing else, that says you can't do it. And our attitudes in society are such that while there are still those that think the way they do, by and large we think it's odd, or would think it would be odd to discriminate against somebody because of their gender or their race or their ethnicity. I mean, we've gone past that point. You can't help where you were born, so why would you discriminate against somebody because of that? So in this case, this is another example of why would you discriminate against somebody for something, how they are innately. They can't help that. They are what they, people are what they are.
Right.
And so, I mean, to me, it's really not a whole lot more complicated than that. But a lot of people, I think, intermix behavior with people. There's a lot of very deep-seated religious and cultural opposition to things such as gay marriage, for example, which I do not support. I mean, I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that's how it is ought to be. It's for other than just the moral and religious reasons for it. There are very strong cultural and societal reasons why. There is not a legitimate sociologist out there that I think would tell you that there is a better way to raise a child than in a household that has a mother and a father. Mm-hmm. Now, there's all sorts of reasons why that doesn't happen. Right. But by the same token, there are very concrete societal reasons why certain things ought to be what they are, that are really are not outside of opinions.
Well, what's the basis for, you say marriage should be between a man and a woman? What reason is there for that, other than religious?
Well, just as I identified, it's in that sense, it's for purposes of child rearing, bringing up the next generation.
But there are plenty of couples that can't have kids.
I understand what you're saying. And what I said earlier is that there's all sorts of ways why that doesn't work, or why that doesn't happen. I mean, people get divorced. Right. Okay. You've got kids, you got to raise them. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why. I'm talking about, again, philosophically, what is the ideal? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that is the ideal, even though there's 101 ways why it doesn't happen.
I would say that the ideal would probably be 2 parents in the home in general. As long as they're loving and caring parents, I don't think gender really even plays a major role.
That may be a part where we would philosophically disagree on that a little bit. Okay. But from the standpoint of individuals, where you work, where you live, somebody should not lose their house, for example, or lose their place to live because of their sexual orientation. That to me, that's something we should not.
Well, regardless of what we feel, gay marriage is now legal in Florida. It's likely to be legal all over the country soon. So the question now is, we have a clerk of the court who is refusing to do any marriages. Now that's not technically part of his job, but traditionally it's always been part of his job. There's a place in the courthouse specifically built for it. How do you address that issue, or is that something that you just kind of look the other way?
Well, the clerk of the court is in sole control of that space. Mm-hmm. What I said when all that came out is I believe, nobody should be required, and nobody can be required to perform something that they morally object to like that. I don't think that because they're not legally required to, you can't force the clerk or his employees to participate if they don't want to. What you can do is you can make the space available to whoever wants to use it, that's legally under Florida law entitled to get married, and they can bring their own person to marry them in the space. The space is still there. Why shut it off for something that it was built for?
Okay. Now, changing gears, the homeless issue is a big issue in Jacksonville. When we get back, we'll go ahead and talk about that. We'll be back with more of Bill Bishop on Jacksonville Inside Now.